Good morning. Happy morning. It is Monday morning. Welcome on into Let's Bet It. Lauren Jabari here with Jared Smith. Jared, how was your Sunday off? How you doing?
It was great. I went for a hike with the dog in Red Rock
Ooh.
Canyon. It was beautiful. I don't know if you've ever been to that part of the country, just outside the Vegas city limits, but it was absolutely stunning. A little hot, more so for the dog than for me. I was okay, but had to cut our hike a
Mm.
little short for JP. Jackpot was a little toasty out there, but it was a beautiful Sunday. How about yourself?
It was good. I had a bachelorette party this weekend. Speaking of, it was
Yeah,
really hot in Vegas always, Jared. It's like 120 degrees. Your
always.
poor dog, my God. But your pictures look beautiful.
Got to
That's
get used. We got to
amazing.
toughen them up.
Yeah, yeah. I guess that's what you got to do. I had a bachelorette party this weekend. It was super fun. It's nice to be back on the show though, because we got a lot of NFL news to be talking about. We
Yes.
also have a little NBA news to get chatted about. I was just reading an article that just popped up on my phone. Memphis is now on the Kevin Durant train.
Whew.
Basically, I know. They have a lot of first round draft picks. They have some good young
Yeah.
stars and guys like Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bain, Brandon Clark. Who knows? That's the latest in the Kevin Durant saga that maybe Memphis could be getting Kevin Durant. Could you imagine KD playing alongside the one and only? I mean, like their team could be stacked.
So if I'm the Grizzlies and I want Kevin Durant, I would say you can take everybody but Ja. Now, if I'm the Nets, that's the one guy
John
you
and
want.
KD together.
Yeah, that would be exciting. But if I'm the Nets, I'm not settling for anything less than Ja, right? Like if you want a star, you're gonna need to give me a star back. Now, again, I don't want to. I don't even know what the valuation for Kevin Durant is at this point in his career. I think there's a lot of ambiguity there, and I think that's probably why this trade is going to take a long time to come to fruition. But it's a nice thought, John KD together. I mean, that would be really fun to watch.
Yeah, two all-star high-level players playing together. I mean, that would be incredible. And they do have the draft picks to be able to trade, and they do have the young stars, but
Sure.
it is like at a certain point, the Nets have to maybe bend a little. Obviously, they don't want to break, but you have to bend a little bit because at this point, what you're asking for is the world and then some, and no team wants to give that up. Like Ja is
Shit or
Memphis's
get off the
guy.
pot, Nets. Jeez. Come on.
Exactly
Make this
at that
happen
point.
already.
So we'll keep you posted on the KD saga. Obviously, that's just another chapter in what is going to be a whole maybe 7 series novel book part by the end of it, but who even knows? But we do have a lot to
Saga.
get into today. We have some NFL news. Tom Brady obviously going to be back, which is great news for the Bucks, but also some other news going on with that we learned this weekend during the UFC fight. We'll get into that in a second. We have our Better Up segment, and then we have AFC West preview with Frank Schwab. So that's going to be exciting. We'll get into that. But let's start it out with our Better Up segment. We always have is the trend, your friend. And I'm going to start it out, Jared, with a trend that's pretty significant. Yankees run line. The
Oh
Yankees are
boy.
20-0. On the run line is underdogs following a win. 20-0 in their last 20
20
games.
and oh. Wow.
As
So you
underdogs
get
following a win on the
yeah,
run line.
underdog run line vibes today for the Yanks. Of course, this is the Subway Series. The game is in the Bronx. It is the Mets and the Yankees, and the Mets obviously have the edge in the pitching matchup if the Yankees are a
Yes.
How often are the Yankees a home underdog? Very, very rarely.
Never.
Maybe
Yeah.
this might be the first time all season. In fact, after the show, I will check the Yankees as a home underdog to see how they've done of late because I would guess it
Yeah.
probably hasn't happened too much. Scherzer, Herman today. Man, how can you bet on the Yankees after the way that they've played the last few weeks? And I know they won yesterday, but I can't bet on the Yankees. It's just I can't do it. So I
Even on the
have to
run line
unfriend
as
them.
underdogs, they're getting a run and a half, and
I
they're
can't do
20
it.
and 0.
I know. And listen, that trend is insane. Justin, bookmark this trend to see what happens tomorrow. We'll revisit. But I'll pass officially because the trend is significant, hard to ignore, but
Mhm.
also the Yankees' recent form is also hard to ignore. So I'll officially pass, but
Yeah.
this might be the most interesting trend you've given us in the however long we've been doing this segment.
Thank you. I thought I'd start out with the big dogs. Why not, Jared?
Boom.
Not as big
Right
of a
out of the
dog,
gate.
but still a decent sized dog. The A's versus Marlins under. Marlins 8-1 to the under in their last 9 on the road.
Pablo Lopez, Adam Aller today. The under looks pretty juicy here at 7. So they're not thinking there ain't going to be much offense in this game if you got Pablo Lopez and Adam Aller, who,
Yeah.
Lopez has been solid, but Adam Aller is not exactly Max Scherzer here. And the total in a baseball game is 7. Usually totals of 7 are like Scherzer, DeGrom, Garrett Cole,
Yeah.
those types of
No,
starting
totally.
pitchers. Not Adam Aller and Pablo Lopez. So that is a little interesting.
2 aces on the
Interleague
mound,
game,
Jared.
2 aces, Pablo Lopez and Adam Aller today. All right, for the benefit of your trends, I will friend this one. But anytime you bet an under in a game that's 7, you're sweating from the opening pitch. So under
Yeah.
sweats tonight, but I will give you a friend here.
We have the under sweats. They're just as bad as the meat sweats. I've heard. I've never had the meat sweats in my life, and I never plan on it. But just what Mark
What?
Zeno has told us and what Alex Glaze told us. Yes.
I've seen
Yes,
some of
I
your
know.
food plates. You've never had the meat sweats in your entire life. Not once have you
No.
eaten food and you're like, man, this is spicy or something. No, nothing.
No. No, I don't like spicy
Wow.
food. I like bland food. I'm kind of boring. It's okay.
Oh, vanilla Jabbar over here.
Yes, I know. I know. Okay, I have 2 Nerfies on the board for you in terms of
All
trends.
right, lay 'em on me.
Rays Angels. Nerfie. Angels 6-0 to the Nerfie in their last 6 against the AL East.
So I like the home side of this one, Jeffrey Springs, and I know you're going to talk about him in a second. His Nerfy numbers are fantastic this year. 12-4. His expected FIP is in the mid 30s. Walk rate under 5%, which are those, all those analytical metrics all lining up for a good Nerfy pitcher. Tucker Davidson on the Angel side, not a whole lot on him, just making his 6th start of the year, 7-3 to the Nerfy since 2019, but his FIP is in the mid 6s along with his expected FIP, which is twice as much as we normally like to see in the 3 range. So the Angels offense has been a problem, but Mike Trout's back. And he's had a few games under his belt. He was in Detroit over the weekend, got a couple of hits yesterday. I'll fade this one, to be honest with you. I think the Angels,
Okay.
Tucker Davidson with Trout on the other side, I think this is a Yerfy game, especially at the odds. It's really juiced to the under, to the Nerfy. So I'll take a nibble on the Yerfy here. So sorry, LJ.
Nibble on the Yerfy. No, it's okay.
Nibble
We're
on the
good.
Yerfy.
White Sox Royals. The last one for you. Hopefully this is a Royal trend. Nerfy. White Sox 6-0 to the Nerfy in their last 6 as road favorites.
See, it's funny because the correlation between a road favorite and a Nerfy, I wouldn't put that in my brain. But it is funny how these line up sometimes. Kopech Lynch today. So I was considering, and I still am considering, a bet on Daniel Lynch in the walks market. And I'll be honest, both of these guys' Nerfy numbers are not good this year. Kopech's 12-10, which is 54.5%. Lynch is 11-8, which is 57.9%. Again, the major league average is around 70 to 72%. So in the mid 50s to high 50s, I don't really like either of these guys as a Nerfy today. It's a day game though. I would say that favors the Nerfy. But still, I would say pass on this one. I don't have any Nerfy bets today. I really don't like the Nerfy board at all today.
Yeah, you don't like the board in general today. It is a tough MLB card today. I only have 2 pitching props. You have a walk prop. We're going to get into that in a second, but let's talk about Yerfies and Nerfies for a second, because yesterday the Yerfy, yes run first inning, went 11-3. It was the first positive day for Yerfies since August 13th. The Nerfy is still hitting at about a 52.2% rate this month, but it is also down now 1.8 units. So that's interesting. Moving forward to see how the Yerfies and Nerfies kind of hit towards the rest of the month. There's only 10 more days left in August, which is really wild. Okay, I have 2 pitching props. One of them is my best bet of the day. But I want to get into your walk prop for a second. Then I'll give you my pitching prop, and then we'll deep dive into some NFL.
Yeah, exciting to have Frank on to talk about the AFC West. It's a division that I haven't really dived into much yet this year, so I'm curious his thoughts. But again, I didn't love the baseball board today, just 9 games, and you don't have to force it. There's still a bunch of games left before we really get into the meat of football. So just because it's a day that ends in Y doesn't mean we have to go nuts with baseball. Doesn't mean we have to go nuts with baseball betting. It's not a great board today, but I did see one walk prop that interested me. Full disclosure, I have not bet this yet. I am still on the fence about it. I will probably make my decision at the end of the show, but it is one that is worth looking at, and I'll probably get there because there's really not much going on today, and I'll be bored in the afternoon wanting to watch this. So Daniel Lynch, we talked about him during the Nerfy segment, over 1.5 walks, 15 cents the juice over at DraftKings. He's home against the White Sox today. So Lynch has just a 58% hit rate on the year, which isn't that impressive. But it jumps to 62% if you include last season. 21 out of 34 starts, he's gone over 1.5. That equates to about minus 160 odds. But when you look at the White Sox lineup, that's where this bet, I think, gains some value because we've talked about the White Sox versus lefties before. That is a trend that we like to back when we can because they have the highest walk rate in baseball against lefties over the last 30 days at over 11%, which is a really high walk rate. 5 straight, 7 of the last 8 lefty starters have gone over 1.5, 16 of 26 this season, which is about 61, 62%. So again, all of the trends are telling us this bet should be priced around minus 160.
Yeah.
Well, it's priced at minus 115. That's where I see some value here. Not a ton of value, but still some pretty significant value to the over 1.5 for Daniel Lynch on his walks prop today. Again, that's the only one that really popped for me. And I'm still kind of on the fence. I'll probably put at least a half a unit on it just because it's a day game and it's the only thing happening in the afternoon today. So Daniel Lynch, over 1.5 walks, only real walk prop that I liked on the board today.
Yeah, I have 2 strikeout props. One of them I'm going to touch into the Subway Series in a little bit. That's my best bet of the day. But the other one, I'm looking at Jeffrey Springs, over 5.5. This is my favorite spot, again, to fade the Angels. This is what I love to do. I love to fade the Angels when it comes to strikeout props. They do have Mike Trout back in their lineup, but he really hasn't done a lot since his return, and he's a bit strikeout prone as well against lefty pitchers. And the Angels are still the worst team in Major League Baseball in terms of striking out. They're averaging 9.60 Ks per game on the season. They punched out 8 times in their last contest. In their last 3, they've been a little bit better, but they're still striking out about like over 7.5 times per game. And Springs has 39 strikeouts in his last 35 1/3 innings pitched. He usually sits at around 5 strikeouts per game, but with the way the Angels have been playing, with the way the Angels have been punching out, I feel pretty solid about this one, and I'm only laying 20 cents for it, minus 120 on FanDuel. So Jeffrey Springs, over 5.5. He's going to be springing him out of there. Angels punching out because that's what they do best, is striking out. I know. Why not? Springing out. Speaking of striking out, though, Jared, that's exactly what the Raiders did back in 2020 because news came out where UFC president Dana White says that the UFC, he said on the UFC with Gronk's broadcast that he helped broker a deal for Tom Brady to play with the Raiders back in 2020, but John Gruden nixed it in the final moments, and then Dana White said all hell broke loose. Apparently, Brady was already looking for houses in the area, and then Gronk confirmed it, saying, Dana White, he just explained what happened, but then he went on to say, it worked out for the best. I'm glad it didn't go through. Said he's glad he went to Tampa, and he loved that place, obviously, because they ended up winning a Super Bowl, but Tom Brady could have been there. It's really interesting to see how things work out. Instead, they have Derek Carr. And then Tom Brady, there was that drama when he made the comment about the quarterback, and now we know it's about Derek Carr. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this whole situation?
Fallacy of the predetermined
drama.
Outcome. If the Raiders get Tom Brady, are they the Super Bowl champs from 2 years ago? I don't know the answer to that question. I would probably lean.
The Bucks had better players.
I agree. I would lean to the no there.
Yeah.
I would have leaned to the no there for sure. And I definitely think Tampa Bay was the right spot for Tom to go to. That being said, I think this story is interesting. I think Tom Brady's whole saga over the last it's funny, a lot's happened since 2020 when Tom was being recruited.
Yeah.
So I don't remember I don't remember the exact build up to like his signing in Tampa, but I do remember the Raiders were one of the teams that was in the mix, along with Miami. So I remember those teams being mentioned. So yeah, like it's not completely far fetched. I think this story has legs to it, but I think Tom ended up in the right place.
Yeah, I just love the drama. I'm all about it.
Yeah, of
AFC West,
course.
though, and a
Everyone
team
loves the
that's probably
drama.
going to have a lot less drama this season is the Raiders. Let's bring in Frank Schwab, NFL and sports betting writer for Yahoo Sports, to chat AFC West, one of the toughest divisions in the NFL, in my opinion. And let's deep dive right into the Raiders. First of all, Frank, how are you? Happy Monday.
Hey, it's great. I mean, we're closer to the end of the preseason, so we're getting real football soon. I'm sick of betting these lines and having third string and fourth string quarterbacks screw up my bets in the fourth
Yeah, I
quarter.
know.
So let's get to some
It's
real
tough.
football already. It
Let's
is.
get to some
It's tougher
real
than ever. It's
football.
tougher than ever because no coaches want to play starters anymore. They're just like, we're getting to the season without injuries.
And
So
there's
it
only
makes
3
it almost
games.
impossible. Yeah,
That makes
it's
it
really,
even
really
harder.
tough.
Usually you get an extra game
I mean,
where
yeah, and then
they'd be more willing in the game 3 to play starters. Now it's
Yeah.
condensed. They
And
don't
each
wanna-
team
they
is,
don't
and,
wanna do
and
it.
each coach, you see, it's the McVay factor. McVay said, I ain't playing any of my guys in the preseason, and other coaches like, this is actually pretty smart. So you don't know if like
Sean
they're going to
McVay's
play him
pretty
in game
smart,
2,
right?
if game 3, like even for tonight's game, Arthur Smith has not said at all whether he's playing any starters tonight. So it's like, okay, what am I betting on?
Mhm.
What am I really,
Yeah.
what am I really betting on for this game?
No, totally. And then you look at a guy like Zach Wilson go down, and people are like, "Ooh, crap! Like we probably should like
Exactly.
rein back a little bit." It's the reaction factor with some of these teams. But a team that's not going to have as much drama this season is the Raiders. Their win total right now set at 8.5 to win the division. It's basically 6.5 to 1 odds. Last year, Frank, they won 10. They're projected to take a step back, maybe because the AFC West got stronger with Russell Wilson. But there's a lot of questions around the offensive line. Do they make you a little hesitant to take their win total? Because you look at a guy like Derek Carr, who's the ultimate leader for this team at this point.
Yeah, I struggle with the Raiders, to be honest with you, because I give them so much respect for what they did last year, fighting through that adversity. They went through so much last year, and to make the playoffs was really, really impressive. But then I put my quant hat on a little bit and say, this team was so out in front of its skis. I mean, you look really at the numbers and some of the wins they got late in the year, the close games. I mean, beating the COVID ravaged Browns and that crazy game against the Chargers, and everything broke right for them late in the season. They projected more like a 7-8 win team than the 10-win team they were. But yet they did make the playoffs. They should have beat the Bengals, or at least, they were on the doorstep of tying them in that wild card game. And they added Devontae Adams, one of probably the 10 best non-quarterbacks in the league. You add Chandler Jones, a heck of a pass rusher. But it's just the AFC West is so good. It's the best division I've ever seen, top to bottom, going into a season. We'll see if it plays out that way.
Yeah.
But that's why I fade the Raiders. I just think some natural regression and the strength of the division overall. I can't get over on their win total. I just can't. And that stinks because I really do respect what the Raiders did last year. And I like some of the pieces. I mean, why wouldn't you?
So Frank, 538 did a piece recently, a couple weeks ago, about coin flip games, and I forget the author who did it, but it was a really good.
My buddy
piece.
Ty, it was Ty Schalter, yeah, one of my.
There you go.
He does a great job with that every year.
Piece. Yeah, absolutely. And so a coin flip game in the NFL is defined as a game where the favorite has a 60% win probability or less in the last 5 minutes. And if the Raiders won 10 games last year, if they would have reversed all of those coin flip wins, they would have only won 5 games. It was the biggest drop off of any team, with their coin flips going in one direction. And if you would have reversed them all, they would have been a 5-win team last year. So again, because of the tight nature of the league, and it's really hard to buy when a team's win total goes up, despite the fact that obviously the talent is there. And I think that's the case with the Denver Broncos. Their win total obviously is going to be a little bit increased, and you get Russell Wilson that's going to continue to boost that. But I am of the impression that his best days are behind him. How do you feel about the Denver Broncos' chances to win this season? That is a very, very high win total at 10 for a team that did not win a whole lot of games last year.
I'm more bullish on them than you, and maybe a little bit of this is my Wisconsin alum coming out here. But Russell Wilson, to me, has not really dropped it. To me, anyway, he hasn't dropped it all. You look at what he
Okay.
was pre-injury last year; he was just fine, doing great. He comes back a couple games he struggled, and I just think you could totally chalk that up to the injury. I respect him for saying, what was he saying? Like I rehab 22 hours a day or something like that, and he came back too early, struggled for a couple games. But down the stretch, if you look, he was, I think he had 110 passer rating his last 6 games or whatever it was. It's in my Broncos preview. I can't remember the stats off the top of my head, but he looked fine by the end of the year. And I just think he's still got good years ahead of him. He's not at an age where he's going to drop off. He's reinvented himself. He's not the runner he used to be. He's more of a pass first guy who will run once in a while when the opportunities present themselves. So he's reinvented himself to be a good quarterback in his mid-30s, and I think he's just fine. And look, being based here in Denver, I'm just glad I don't have to hear the talk radio for all offseason about, hey, is it going to be Paxton Lynch or Trevor Siemian? Is it going to be Case Keenum to save the day? Is it going to be Joe Flacco? They got a dude now, finally. This guy transforms that entire organization. He comes in with a level of professionalism and leadership that I think rises everybody up. I think the Broncos are going to be really good this year. You're right. The win total is very high. I don't know that I'm necessarily running to the window to take the over, but I get it. I understand anybody who's bullish on the Broncos. I'm all in on this Russell Wilson thing. I think he's going to transform this entire team that has just had such bad quarterback play these past few years. The upgrade there
Such
is
bad
enormous.
quarterback play.
You're
It's
making
been
a friend
totally.
in
And I was
Lauren
actually,
right away, by the way. Lauren's already loving
I've
everything you're
lived in
saying
Denver
about
for
Denver.
3 years. I worked for Altitude TV out there with the
Yep.
Colorado Avalanche, so that was pretty fun. But to second what you said about the Broncos, though, they made their O line a lot better. They added Tom Compton, Billy Turner, Ben Braden. So Wilson's going to have some good protection in the pocket. And I look at the Broncos last year. Obviously, they won 7 games. It's how many wins can be attributed to Russell Wilson. Is it going to be 4? I don't know, to be able to go over that win total. But I do think that they are going to have a good season. And if you're getting it at 10, I mean, the possibility of pushing with 10 wins, I feel pretty
Yeah.
confident about that.
It's hard for me to say
So,
that this Broncos team, if they have decent injury luck, is going to go 9-8. Like they just seem better than that to me. And when the win total is on a solid number like that and not a half, I'm always like, what's more probable, 9-8 or 11-6? I probably come to 11-6 because 9-8. It's hard for me to believe this Russell Wilson, unless you're right. You might be right. Russell is falling off. Look, the Seattle Seahawks have won a ton of games, and they basically said, Russ, we don't want anything to do with you anymore. Now, I think Seattle
Yeah.
operates in a weird way. Like, let's be honest, they're unconventional. But the Seattle Seahawks, a good organization, said, we're done with you, Russell Wilson. We'll go with Geno and Drew Lock. We don't
totally.
care. So maybe they have seen
Yeah.
something that necessarily I'm not.
Drew Lock was definitely not the saving grace for the Broncos, but another
No.
team that has a solid win total is the Chargers. And Brandon Staley, I mean, they started the season off 4-1. They ended up going 9-8. Brandon Staley struggled to match the success that he had with the Rams defensively. And I think a lot of that is the fact that he decided to play with a light box up front, which is fewer than 6 defenders, and everyone else he just placed in the secondary. So people were just running the heck out of the ball against them. The Chargers ranked 30th in rush yards allowed, and they also ranked last in getting off the field on third downs. Do you think this is more of a player personnel thing that they can get over 10 wins, or is it more of, hey, Brandon Staley has to look internally and maybe adjust from what he's used to and what worked well for him with the Rams, because that night might not work for him with the Chargers in terms of the defensive side?
Right. And I do think that he needed a year to get his personnel in there. They were totally changing that
Yeah.
defense. They didn't really have the guys to run the defense he wanted. And he did the best with it. He even said before, I think it was this offseason, basically said, look, we made do. We made do with the guys we had who didn't really fit my system. And they went out. I mean, they operated as any team with a good quarterback in his rookie deal should. They said, yeah, we're going to overpay for J.C. Jackson. So what? We have a Khalil Mack. We have all this cap space. So I think that they operated exactly how you should, and they're loaded. I mean,
Yeah.
you look at this team on paper, and I know we've said this about the Chargers so often, but it's true. You look at this team on paper, and they look like a Super Bowl contender. They really do. Justin Herbert is one of the best quarterbacks in the game already. 2 great wideouts, a great running back in Eckler. Their offensive line has become a strength. I remember when the Chargers' offensive line was a joke. Now it's one of the top 10 in the league. Their defense should be much better. And I do think Brandon, you're totally right. I think Brandon Staley screwed up a lot of things last year. I think that but I think he was a rookie head coach, and I do think he's a smart guy. I really do. I enjoy his
Hmm.
press conferences and everything he says, and I do think he's going to look internally and say, now, I don't know if he's going to necessarily take his foot off the gas and start punting on fourth down all the time, but
Yeah.
I do think he's going to say, okay, there were some situations where I need to pull back a little bit. I need to do this defensively. I can't just let teams run all over us. I remember that Ravens game. I was on the Chargers in that game, and the Ravens seemed to run for like 500 yards in that game, and it was just like,
Yeah.
I just don't think that's going to happen in a year or two. I think Staley adjusts. I feel like I buy into the Chargers every single year, and they just always disappoint me. But how could you not love this Chargers team on paper? I really think they're good.
No, it's true.
The
Jared, one more
Chargers,
thing, just heading into this last
yeah.
season, I had actually had Justin Herbert future to maybe win the MVP at 20-1. If they had success, he could have maybe been an outside pick for the MVP last year, but obviously that didn't end up working out for me, so whatever. Jared, sorry, interrupted you.
Okay, we do love Justin Herbert. I was actually, while you were going off on that last answer, Frank, I was looking up some of Herbert's fourth quarter numbers from last year. He was a top 7 quarterback in the fourth quarter. And again, this is a young guy that is really coming into his own very quickly in the league. He's up there at the ranks of Josh Allen and Matt Stafford and Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he's right there in terms of the analytics. And those are, I would say, the 3 best quarterbacks in the league right now. So that's pretty impressive stuff. Speaking of impressive stuff, Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, listen, I would say it's been pretty quiet in the Chiefs' hype this offseason. They didn't have the end to last season with Cincinnati going into Arrowhead and pulling off just a stunning comeback win. And so the expectations, while are high, maybe the buzz around Kansas City, Frank, isn't quite what it's been in the last couple of seasons. They are still, I think, second or third favorite to win the Super Bowl. So they're right there, but maybe not quite, again, that same level of excitement with the offseason betting splits on this Chiefs team based on some of the numbers.
Yeah, and that's the thing. As the offseason started, I was kind of with everybody else and not really excited about the Chiefs and, they lost Tyreek and all this. As the offseason's gone on, I get to this point, and I've said over and over, I just feel like I'm going to be in the middle of January. The Chiefs are going to be the number 1 seed playing in Arrowhead. And I'm going to be like, why did I fade Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes? What am I doing? Like, why? Because they lost Tyreek Hill? That's it? Really? That's why I thought the Chiefs were going to take a big step back. This is a team built on a really, really solid foundation. And it's not like they have nothing at receiver. I mean, I'm not the biggest Juju Smith-Schuster fan in the world, and MVS has been kind of up and down, but Patrick Mahomes is going to make these guys really good. He's Patrick Mahomes. He's a magician. I respect him as much as anybody in the league. And I feel kind of dumb. Like, I have all these Chargers to win the division bets and all the, and now it's like, well, the Chiefs are still there. There's a reason they've won a division, 6-7 years in a row, ever since Peyton Manning retired. And nothing has really changed. I didn't like the Tyreek Hill trade. I thought they should have just kept chasing Super Bowls with him, and whatever happens, happens. But they got a really good return. And the thing about this Chiefs team that we don't talk about, their defense is all of a sudden kind of frisky. I'm not saying it's going to be good, but they got a lot of highly drafted talent. They're adding 2 first-round picks to that defense this year. Carl Aftis is a guy who I think could win Defensive Rookie of the Year. They've really added a lot of talent on defense. To the point, I'm not saying they're going to be a top 10 defense, but maybe if the offense takes a little bit of a step back, but the defense takes a little bit of a step up, this could still, maybe even be a more balanced Chiefs team, and even better Chiefs team in some ways.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with the loss of Tyreek Hill, because he did have a 25% target share. That's a lot. I mean, that's a quarter of their passes.
It is.
But also, you look at a guy like Patrick Mahomes. He's never won fewer than 12 games in a season since he's been a starter for the Kansas City Chiefs. So you can't bet
against
that.
Their win total is only 10.5, right? How can we not bet the over there, right?
Yeah, also the Chiefs had an A+ grade in terms of the draft. They added Sky Moore. I'm interested to see how he's going to be this season in the NFL. I think he needs to bulk up a little bit, but I feel like he could be pretty successful this season. The other thing that worries me a little bit is if you look at their opponents' win total projections, they have the hardest schedule in the NFL. But again, you can't go
and
against
by far.
like
I think right. It's like a pretty big gap between the Chiefs and everybody else. You're absolutely right about that. They really tough.
So that's going to be interesting to see how things kind of, unload once the season starts. But again, you can't bet against a guy like Patrick Mahomes. Frank, we so appreciate you taking your time. What is maybe not even AFC West, but what is your best bet that you have going into this NFL season?
Anything Ravens related. I think the Ravens last year, they went 8-9, and everybody's like, that's a disappointment. You start looking under the hood. They were just injured. They were the most injured team Football Outsiders has ever tracked. Like, and they lost
Wow.
5 games down the stretch by a combined 8 points.
Yeah.
Regression is just screaming, positive regression screaming out. Everybody's like bored of Lamar Jackson being great. Lamar Jackson's 25 years old. He's getting better. Okay. Like everybody's like, oh, they don't have good receivers. Who cares? Lamar doesn't use the outside of the field. They're the team that relies least on its receivers in the NFL. Every single ticket I could punch for the Ravens, I'm punching. Lamar MVP,
Alrighty.
Ravens division, Ravens win total, Ravens Super Bowl. I think Ravens are back to being a top 5 team because this is just a constant investment stock. Like I love betting on the Ravens. John Harbaugh never lets me down. And again, people who think 8-9 last year was a disappointment for the Ravens, it was a miracle they got to 8 wins. That says something to me about how good the Ravens are, that they were actually that good. So yeah, anything Ravens related, probably Eagles related too, I'm pretty high on that.
Nice.
Likes the birds. Let's fly, baby. Why not?
The birds.
The Eagles, I think they're going to be really good this season. Loves the birds. Frank Schwab, we so appreciate you, your time, your insight. Best of luck with your bets this season. I'm sure we'll be talking to you moving forward.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
Great job, Frank.
Thank you. Frank Schwab, NFL and sports betting writer for Yahoo Sports. Love it. All right, Jared, before we get into our best bets of the day, Pickswise.com. 3-star play of the day. Who do we got?
Oh, we do actually have a play on the Manchester United-Liverpool match. And it's a same-game parlay. And it's plus 235. It's a juicy one. I'll probably put a little sprinkle on this baby. Also, I failed to mention during the Yerfy Nerfy segment, Keith Schmelter has 2 Yerfy Nerfies on the site. And you know our editors have done a fantastic job with these bets on the air. Cincinnati, Philly, Texas, Minnesota are the 2 games that Keith is targeting today. So I would direct your attention to both of those avenues on the Pickswise.com betting site for your menu this afternoon. Exciting stuff.
Love it. Just a little hors d'oeuvre or hors d'oeuvres, as you like to say, for the betting slate tonight. Okay, you're going pre-season. What?
I said amuse-bouche. That's like another word for like pre-meal, appetizer, hors d'oeuvres.
Oh, since when? I'm gonna add that to my list. Why not?
Amuse-bouche. All you can have it.
Yeah, you're also going the bird route though. You're kind of cardinal. Yeah. That's a bird, right? Yeah, it's a bird. We're going the bird route today, boys. Bird money line. Tell me more.
Didn't you used to do a really good chirping noise, right? Aren't you good at that? There you go. See? Ask and you shall receive.
That's more of an owl, but you know it works.
Yeah, that did sound a little more like a hoot than a chirp. Yeah. But you know what? I'll take it because we hope that the Cardinals are chirping all the way to the bank. So I have a trend in this game that will rock your socks off. But first, let's get to the handicap.
Let's hear it.
So the Cardinals have opened up a 5-game lead over the Brewers in the National League Central. They've won 7 straight games. Remember last year when the Cardinals won, I think it was 13 or 14 straight. It was right around this time of year when they just took the baton and sprinted right towards the finish. And it looks like that's what's happening again this season. They were just 4 games over 500 back on July 14th. They lost 2 of 3 to the Dodgers. It was right before the All-Star break. Since then, they're 21-7. They have been on a ridiculous tear. And I don't think it's going to stop tonight. Jordan Montgomery on the mound. He's been fantastic in 3 starts since being traded from the Yankees to the Cardinals. Just 1 earned run, 12 hits allowed in 17 2/3 innings. The Cardinals are 3-0 in those games. He'll face Drew Smyly on the mound for Chicago. A couple of lefties in this game. Smiley's pitching well in his last 3 starts, but lesser competition. Nats, Reds, Marlins. Not exactly a swinging offense. The Cardinals now stepping up in class for this game because St. Louis has the 2nd highest WRC plus since July 1st against lefties. The Cubs are just 24th. And again, you've got 2 lefties on the mound in this game. The bullpens as well. I would say the Cubs have kind of been lucky this year since July 1st, or actually, no, the entire season. 4th lowest ERA this year, which is really good, but the 5th lowest FIP. So I don't know what the Cubs bullpen is brewing out there, but they've been very fortunate that their ERA is really low, but their FIP is really high, relatively speaking. And here's the trend that just got me to the window immediately on this game. St. Louis hasn't lost as a favorite at Wrigley Field since 2019. 8 straight
Wow.
wins, not only on the money line, but on the run line as well. They are 8-0 in their last 8 games as a favorite at Wrigley Field, obviously against the Cubs. So I'm betting the money line. It's minus 159 over at circa 1.59 units to win 1. I'm also risking a unit on the run line at even odds because I think St. Louis is a fantastic bet today on the road at Wrigley Field against the Cubs.
Wow, that's a good one. I like it. Fly, birds, fly. I'm flying on over to the Subway Series. So I'm taking Max Scherzer, my boy, Scherzy boy, over 7.5 strikeouts at even money, plus 100. This guy is so tough on righties. And guess what? Most of the Yankees bats hit from the right. He wants to go out and he wants to dominate against the best team in the AL. And Max Scherzer has been just absolutely phenomenal this season. The Yankees, they've been struggling a lot. We talked about their woes. I don't know what's going on in their clubhouse the last couple of weeks, but they haven't been very good. Their last 3 games, they're averaging 10.33 strikeouts per game. Last game they played, they punched out 12 times, and Max Scherzer hit this number in 2 of his last 3 starts, including an 11 strikeout performance against the Atlanta Braves, who don't strike out very often. So I look at a team like the Yankees, they're struggling. They're hitting a lot of their big hitters hitting from the right, and Scherzer is just money against them. So I hope that Scherzer is able to make us some money tonight, go over that 7.5 mark, and getting it at even money. Why not? Lock it in. Max Scherzer, baby, Subway Series. He's going to come out, and he's going to want to dominate. So that's it for us. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to Pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. Jared Smith, Lauren Jabara. Best of luck tonight, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Let's get it. Let's bet it.